In this section, we are going to display recent wallpapers and also display wallpapers by category. Okay, so in the previous video we were able to add wallpapers, right? We were able to also select the categories and every other thing. So to get started, we are going to first of all fetch the gallery images, like the images or the wallpapers that has been added, right? The ones added by the admin. And after that, we are now going to go to the home page and then create add recent wallpapers, and we can now start working on other features, right? Like more like the category, to view categories or to view wallpapers by categories. So here you can see we already have one wallpaper added in our previous videos. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here now is to go to our admin provider, right? We are already there. So I'm going to create a new abstract method, which is get admin wallpaper. So I'm going to add the implementation, right? So this will just help us to get admin data, right? I'm going to create an async here. So because we already have similar thing here, which is more like what we keep doing repeatedly, right? In my next tutorial, I believe I'm going to look for a better approach in, to structure this thing instead of having it everywhere. Okay, so here now we have this. I'm going to remove all these guys, so don't be confused. It's just like, try and catch Firebase exception and also to catch exceptions, right, when there's an error. So the first thing I want to do here now is to I need to create a list, right, more like an admin list, so that when users fetch the data, we should be able to see all the data. We are going to store that inside the list. And remember, we already have our model, right? If you look at the I think we have our admin model already. So if you look at the, sorry, let me go back one step right here. And if you scroll down to, you will see a wallpaper model, right? So we already have this guy already, so we don't need to do much thing. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create a new list, admin wallpaper, right? So it's more like all the wallpapers owned by the admin. Okay, it's going to be stored in this list once we fetch it. So I'm going to come down here to our method. Okay, so inside here I'm going to create I'm going to fetch all the datas, right, from the wallpaper collection. So remember, when we saved it initially, we stored the auto ID. So I'll be using the auto ID to identify wallpapers that belongs to a particular person. Okay, so I'll have my wallpaper ref. Okay, I'm going to use the where, right, to just filter through it. So I'm going to say where order ID, and this order ID, make sure the name matches what you're trying to query. Okay, so we have we're going to check is equal to, right? I'm going to use the user, right? This is coming from Firebase auth, we already have it, right? And then we can say .get. Okay, all right, now what this is going to do, don't forget to await this because it's a feature, right? So what this is doing is just to query through the database and filter it based on auto ID, and then return all the wallpaper that was added by that particular user. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a wallpaper, like a temporarily, because we need to pass this data when we are getting it from Firebase. Initially, when we store it, we change it to a JSON, right? All these data are in JSON format, and when it's coming like a JSON, like a map of string dynamic. Okay, so we need to pass it into our model, which is what I'm trying to do now. So I'm going to check if the data coming from the Firebase is not empty, right? If it's not empty, what I'm going to do, I'm going to loop through those data, right? So let's say I in results docs. All right, so once I get it, I'm going to pass the data, right, using the wallpaper model from JSON, and then I will say to data, right? Cool. So this wallpaper model have to JSON and from JSON, right? If you want to pass and you also want to send data. So right here now I'm going to because so one other thing again is needed. It's going to help us when it comes to updating the. So if you notice, if you notice in our model here, we have the wallpaper, right? If you notice here, we have the wallpaper ID, right? So what I'm going to do here now, it's this ID, right? And initially it's empty because when we were saving wallpaper, we left it empty. We did not specify. If you look here where we have save wallpaper, it was initially empty. So that's how it's going to appear also on Firebase, empty. So whenever we are fetching, I need to assign that data based on what we are getting, right? This particular doc ID is going to help us when it comes to updating or viewing single wallpapers. So what I'm going to do here now is to say data the wallpaper ID, right, equal to i.id, right, which is more like the doc part. So I'm going to now add the temp list into, I'm going to add the data, right, into the temp list. So now we have this one in place, and once we add it, I'm going to come here, whether it's empty or not, we still need to assign it to our wallpaper, admin wallpaper, right? So we're just going to say temp list, right? And this is showing this, okay, because it's final, so we need to remove this final keyword, and now the error is gone. So next thing I need to do now is to filter this guy so that it's going to show from the recent data based on the date, right? If you look at the wallpaper model, we also have date created, and when we were saving it, we stored it like milliseconds, like since MPH. Okay, so here I'm going to just have this guy admin wallpaper, right, and then sort it based on the recent data. So now we have this. I'm going to go one step backward, which is more like the admin homepage. So in this admin homepage, we need to like filter this guy so that it's going to display the actual data for us. So the first thing I want to do, remember we already have our controller wrapped, we already have our consumer wrapped, and the admin wallpaper wrapped already. Okay, so right here now what I'm going to do is to check. First thing, I already have the empty widget. Remember when we added it, right? This empty widget. So what I'm going to do here, also import this view state. So what is happening here is if state.admin wallpaper is empty and the state has finished loading, like is in a completed state, and we need to show no gallery wallpaper. But if it's not empty, that means there's data, then we need to go on and show this other guy. So I'm going to save this, and as you can see now, it's showing no wallpaper. The reason is because this guy is empty now, right? So we need to like do hot restart so that it's going to fetch the data. So let me just leave it that way, and now you can see it's no more showing that no wallpaper because there is data. Excuse me. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to set the length of this. So I'm going to say .admin wallpaper .length. Okay, so I'm going to come here, right, inside our init state, and I'm going to put this method, right, provider.get admin wallpaper. So I'm going to save that. Let's go back to that screen, okay, and see. Right now you can see we have our data, right? Our data is printing out successfully, but it's still, right, you can see now the stuff is showing one. Okay, cool. So what we are going to do now is to show the image, right, as it should be. So we're going to have first thing I'm going to do is to add data equal to state admin index. Okay, so inside here I'm going to add data dot let's see, wallpaper image. Okay, so from here I'm going to, remember we commented this guy out before, so I'm going to like remove it so that it's going to show the actual image, and make sure you add the necessary imports. Okay, and yeah, save it and give it some few seconds to just load. Yeah, you can see now our image is showing perfect. All right, so that's pretty much it for this guy, and we can actually show it. So the next bit we are going to do now is to view recent, like to show recent wallpapers, right, when the user goes to the home screen. So to create that, we are quickly going to go back to our home screen, right, where we are going to create a new screen widget. So I have my home screen here. Let me just quickly look for it. Yeah, so we have here, I'm going to create a new file called home screen. We have our home screen. I'm going to go also to our root provider. So I'm going to change this guy now to the home screen. Okay, so that it's going to show correctly. So when we go back here, I need to do a hot restart to make this so that it's going to reflect. Okay, so now moving on, what I'm going to do is just to create a UI for this guy, how it's going to look. So quickly, I think I'm still going to use what we have in our admin home, right? From this padding down to this guy, it's just like similar stuff that we are going to use. Okay, so I'm just going to use this, okay, for that. But for now, what I'm going to do is let's go back here. So I'm just going to create, let's say I have my scaffold widget. Okay, so inside my scaffold widget, I'm going to have the body, and the body is going to be this, right? I know I'm copying a lot of things and it's going to look a little bit confusing, but this is actually what we need. So I just imported the necessary stuffs, and let's close this guy here. Okay, so this is more like it's an error, right? So don't bother about this error, we are going to fix it. So what I'm going to do next is to create a wallpaper provider, okay, that's going to help us to fetch recent wallpaper, and also we are going to create a provider too for fetching wallpaper by category. So what I'm going to do here now is to create I'm going to create a method. I'm going to call it home wallpaper provider. Okay, so inside here I'm going to create a abstract class that is going to handle two things actually, which is, I think I'll just add, because this home wallpaper is going to do three things actually. It's going to fetch wallpaper like the recent wallpapers. It's going to fetch wallpaper by category, and we should also be able to apply wallpaper here. So I'm going to add that, which is this. So as you can see, we have two parameters for this apply wallpaper, which is the string image, and we also have the location. So the first one, which is one, more like is the home screen, right? The first screen, and 2 stands for lock screen, and 3 stands for both screen. Okay, we are going to come back to this. So let's just move on to our wallpaper. Let's just create our wallpaper provider, and I'm going to extend as usual. Yeah, we're going to extend the change notifier, and here I'm going to implement the just put the wallpaper there. All right, so cool. And the next thing, I'm just going to like override the necessary methods. Okay, and then I'm going to also create a list. Like I'm going to create like 3 lists actually. So we have the first one, which is going to be to get all recent wallpapers, and another list to get category wallpapers, and then I'm going to create the reference to the wallpaper collection, right? More like similar thing that we did for admin. All right, this wallpaper ref for admin, I think we have it here. Okay, and I'm also going to create these 2 lists. Okay, and then we have I do message, right? We have I do state. I think that's more like our view state, and we also have these guys. We also have update state as well. So I'm just going to grab all of those and add them inside our wallpaper provider. Okay, so they are all going to be passed, right? So, and all of them are using just one they are all using one model. Okay, so I'm going to quickly register this wallpaper right inside our main.dat, so that we won't get any issues while we are using it. So we have the wallpaper provider. Save that, and yeah, we can now move on to the other bits, which is more like our home screen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this guy now with the wallpaper provider. Okay, and here I'm going to put the consumer. Okay, and okay, so here is going to be state, and we have our child. So if you notice now, some of those errors are gone, right? So this is no longer going to be admin wallpaper this time. It's now going to be the recent wallpaper, right? So let's just change the 3 errors, okay, to recent wallpaper, because this is the home screen, right? Right now it's not showing anything because there is no data, right? So The next thing we're going to do now, if recent wallpaper is empty and view state is success, I think for now is idle, so that's why you did not see anything. So let's just return it back because we have not fetched any data yet. So inside here, I'm going to wrap this with a busy overlay so that something will load while we are getting our data. So I'm going to add state.viewState is equal to viewState.busy, right? And also one other thing again, whenever user comes to this screen, we need to like fetch view wallpapers, okay? But that is, we are not going to handle that one yet. Let's just move on to the provider. So let's just write the logics to get the recent wallpapers and also the logic to get wallpaper by category, right? I'm still going to use similar thing that we did for the admin, right? So instead of like, you know, doing everything from scratch, I'm just going to grab this, right? I think it's still just similar stuff, but you're going to see how I'm going to change it based on what we want to achieve. So inside our fetch recent wallpapers, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to paste it and make sure you make this asynchronous. And right here now, what I'm going to do, instead of having where, we're just going to get everything, right? Because this is the recent wallpaper, right? We're just going to get everything. And yeah, you can just remove your logger or leave it, whichever one you want. And inside here now, we're now going to put the recent wallpapers, okay? And here too, we're going to use recent wallpapers. The reason why it's showing red is because this is marked as final. So we need to remove those stuffs. And now you can see we have our recent wallpapers, just similar with what we did for the admin, okay? Just similar thing. Then now, secondly, we have for the category to fetch products by category, okay? To fetch wallpapers by categories. So what I'm going to do here now, we are going to change this guy because remember we have the value here, category name, okay? So make sure it matches what you have in Firebase. If not, there will be some there will be issues, right? So we're going to change this now to the category name, which is this name here, right? And then we get it. Once we do that, I'm going to remove this as well. So this is going to be category wallpaper, and this is going to be category wallpaper. As you can see, we did not do much. It's just similar thing that we did for admin, right? We just duplicated it, but we only changed the way we are filtering the data, okay? So I'm going to remove this final here. And that's pretty much it. You can see we did not do anything for the apply because that would be a later video, right, in the future. So let's just skip this one for now. So I'm going to go back to our home screen. So right in our home screen, I'm going to create the method so that when users come to the screen for the first time, they should be able to fetch data. Similar with what we did for the admin home, right? We were able to call this method, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to have my init state, right? And I'm going to have a method called view wallpapers, okay? View wallpaper. All right, so make sure this is import, like just create a new, we're just going to create like a new method for it. So inside here now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a provider state. And what this provider state does is checks, it's going to be a sync actually. So this is a provider state. We just call the same thing, provider.wallpaper, right? We created an instance of it first, like a variable. And then we called await provider state.fetch recent wallpaper. So you're just going to call that method, right, to fetch the recent wallpaper. Then what if there's an error while fetching the wallpaper? We need to show them something, right? So in that case, we need to like use if provider state.viewState is equal to error, like if there was an error, network error, whatever, we need to show the dialog to the users, right, that hey, there's an error. That's why we have the show message. And if you notice, this show message was previously added, okay? So we already have it in our project. Cool, so that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do now is just to do a hot restart. Yeah, and you will see once we get here, it's going to fetch. There will be a loading indicator, and now you can see our wallpaper is displaying. This is more like our recent wallpaper. So cool, we are good with that. And the next thing I want to do now is to fetch categories, right? More like products, like wallpaper by category. And that will be whenever users comes to this category and then click on this category, we should be able to fetch the category. Okay, we have our category screen here. I'm going to create a new functions, a new screen, sorry, and I'm going to call this view category screen. Right, so this is going to be a stateful widget, and we have a category view screen. So this will help us to view categories, right? And now we can now put our scaffold widget with an app bar. And so, but before that, I think our category need to have a constructor, right? We need to accept something, which is the category name. Moving on, we need to create more like our view, okay? And we need to create an app bar. So we have a scaffold here, and we have the app bar, okay? And we have the body as well. So the app bar is going to, let's import our white color. So the app bar is basically going to show the category name, right, as the title whenever users enters that screen. So now we are doing a lot here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to register this category view screen. So inside here, and I'm just going to duplicate this, okay? And instead of calling category screen, we are going to call category view screen, okay? And if you, as you can see, it's accepting something else, which is the category name. So we need to have that category name here, right? And it's going to accept based on category name, because it's going to be a map. So we have this, let's call this data, right? And this is going to be a map, okay? So category name is more like how we are going to pass the data. So this is no longer going to be this, it's going to be view category. And if you come back to our category screen, you can see how I'm routing. We have the view category, and we have the category name, and then we are passing the category name, and this is in form of a map, right? And once you click, it's going to open up the view category screen. Okay, that's one way to pass data from one screen to another using Go Router. Okay, so since we have this, I'm going to rebuild I'm going to like do a hot restart, and if I click on this, not this, let's go to our category. If I click here, you're going to see it's going to take us to a new screen, and as you can see, we have the title, which is category name. Awesome. This is getting exciting. So we are going to like create something else, which is more like we want our category image to be in form of still be a grid view, similar with what we already have in the previous videos. So let's say in the previous stuffs we implemented in our home screen, right, we have this guy, okay? So I'm still going to copy this guy because I want everything to be, you know, the same. So and also I want everything to just be simple, okay? So here we have our, I'm also going to paste this, right, our wallpaper image and the state and everything, and they are all looking good, right, except this minor errors which we are going to fix just as we did in the last one. So I'm going to wrap this guy now with a consumer widget, and I'm going to call wallpaper provider, right? And here we have the consumer, okay? And here I have the state and the child, okay? And then next thing, because when stuffs are loading, we need to also show an overlay. So I'm going to show the busy overlay. So it says view state is equal to view state dot let's say busy, right? Cool. I think everything is actually getting shape, right? They are all coming together. The dots are connecting. So yep. One last thing, we are going to do the similar thing we did for getting home screen wallpapers, right, where we have this guy, okay? So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to come here like our view category screen, and I'm going to have a method called view category, okay, right? Cool. And inside this view category, I'm going to create a method, right, which more like similar stuff we did here. So I'm going to like, you know, grab this guy, okay, go back here and move, no, I think view category screen, move down a little bit, paste it here, right? Make sure you make this guy a sync, and also import our message. Now this guy is no longer going to be fetch recent wallpaper, but rather it's going to be fetch wallpaper by category name. And inside here now I'm going to put the widget dot category name. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much it. And while we have this, I'm going to think for a good practice when you're building a production app, it's always best you convert this to lowercase. Okay, and also when you're saving it into the database, you also need to convert it to lowercase. As you can see here, we did not convert this guy to lowercase, and it's a wrong practice. So what I'm going to do here now is, when we are trying to like compare it, I need to convert it to lowercase. And also when we are saving the category, let's go to our admin. While you're saving category, right, I need to also convert it to lowercase. Okay, so to make all these things work, because we already have one data in our Firebase, I'm just going to update this manually. All right, but next time when you're saving data like this to Firebase, make sure you convert them to lowercase so that it will be easier for you when you're working. All right, so when you want to use it, you can convert it to any case that you want, right? Uppercase, capitalize, or caps, whichever one. So now that we have this, I'm going to do a hot restart and allow it to come up. Okay, so if we click on, let's go to our category, and if we click on vehicle, you can see that we have an image vehicle. If I go back, click on plants, plants, there is no category like plants, right? So this is not supposed to show us any image. It's supposed to show something else. Okay, like empty state. So let's go back to view category screen. We are viewing category by ID. Okay, here we are using recent wallpaper, which is very wrong, which is not so what we are supposed to do. Remember, we created category wallpapers here, and why getting category wallpaper, we also set it here. So that's what we need to change, right? I need to change this to, okay, let's remove the underscore. All right, save it. Now you can see no gallery wallpaper. This is supposed to be no category wallpaper, right? No category wallpaper, and this one should be no recent wallpaper. So if we come back here now, click on vehicle, we are going to see vehicle like, and if you click on plant, it's going to show no category wallpaper. Awesome, guys. This is pretty much everything that we needed to achieve in this video, and I think we're able to achieve it, and everything is working perfectly. And so as you can see, we can actually view wallpaper by category. We can also view recent categories. We can also view categories or wallpapers added by the admin. Okay, and so in the next video we are going to look at creating the search UI, so that users should be able to search data from when you go to search, right, from here you should be able to search wallpapers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add some wallpapers, right? So in the next video you're going to see a lot of wallpapers, and then we can go ahead to make this search functional.